Hi, good afternoon. This is the School of Leadership Development radio show. I want to welcome you for showing up today. And if this is your first time listening, this is your host, Angel Vallejo, here to love, serve, and transform business and life. And thank you for showing up today live and on the recording. If this is your first time on this show, I want to say welcome. This show is designed for leadership development, education, and also to highlight individuals like yourself that have a passion, a gift, a talent, and that love God and that are open to sharing about what's going on in your life and in your business. So, welcome to the call today, and this is our episode number 6, and so today we're going to be talking about public speaking. And it's interesting that just the other day, this last broadcast that we had, I was sharing, and it opened up an opportunity to go and public speak. So public speaking is one of the things that it's considered a huge skill to have when you're in leadership, and it can be developed. And so I'm going to give some tips today. And I also have a special guest speaker. And so I'm excited. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm still, for some reason, my picture's not coming up, and I can't figure out why.
All right. Yeah, no, it's great. Well, thank you for being on the call today. And those of you that are just jumping on right now live or on the recording, I want to say welcome. And the topic and the theme today is on public speaking. And I was sharing about earlier how last week I got an opportunity to go speak with some individuals that I would normally not go share at. And so we started talking about the whole idea of public speaking. I can see you now, Tom.
All right, perfect.
All right, perfect. Yeah, you're on board. Good stuff. So so this whole idea of public speaking and how it really helps us get ahead in our careers and our personal development, our professional growth. And so it's exciting. And so I'm going to be sharing a few tips today, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today. And this is a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine. He is a leadership coach. He has an extensive amount of experience. He's also the author of C-Suite and Beyond. Hopefully we'll be getting some really good nuggets today in regards to that one. And not only that, he is a loving husband and a father. So I want to say welcome, Tom, to the call. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How you doing?
Good. So speaking of father, I was just in Utah. I went skiing in Salt Lake with my 2 daughters. So my youngest daughter moved up to Salt Lake City, and she's now become a really good skier. And my other daughter from Chicago flew in, and so we spent 4 days together and exploring the mountains in Utah, and just wonderful skiing in there, and it was great being reunited with my girls. I haven't seen them in a while, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I saw some of the pictures on there, and that's Utah is like one of the best places to go.
Yeah,
So you're a skier or a snowboarder or both?
I'm a skier. When I learned when I was young, there was no snowboards. They didn't exist.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
learned to ski on 2 skis, and as families, we didn't have a lot of time for vacation. So rather than trying to learn another sport, which was snowboard, and not being really good at it, I said, okay, let me just stick to what I know, and I'll continue skiing, and I don't have to deal with a learning curve there for a second. So one
Yeah.
of my girls skis and the other one snowboards.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. So I just took my 4-year-old Ezekiel 2 weeks ago. We want him to learn how to ski, but they didn't have any skis available at the time. So we just said, you know what? We're gonna put him on the board, and he did pretty good. I took a scarf with me in the first couple of trials, like I was holding him, and we were just, people were looking at it like, what are you guys doing? And but he got on pretty quick, and towards the end he was, he was carving and everything. So it's yeah,
Well,
it's really
I'm all my life I was always so I don't know if envious or jealous is the right word, but these little kids, like your son, who's their gravity's so low, they're so close to the ground, they go just zipping down a mountain with no fear, and like an old guy like me is like, oh, I'm so tender, I don't want to fall, and the little kids, they just go boom flying down. It's wonderful to be young.
Yeah, the earlier they could get on board, the better. Then that, as they get older, it becomes like second nature to them. And that when they're so light, they fall because you're guaranteed to fall. That's like one of the guarantees in snowboarding. I don't know if it's the same with skiing, but yeah, with snowboarding, it's just like you're gonna fall for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
so it's fun. Good
Well, my problem now is not so much falling; it's about getting up.
getting back up, right?
Isn't
Yeah,
that so
well,
weird? It's like the commercial. I've fallen and I can't get up. Now I understand what that means.
yeah. So you're back in Southern Cali now?
Yeah, yeah. For as you can, I don't know if you can see behind me, but it's pouring raining. So that's one of the times where it's raining in Southern California instead of it being beautiful sunshine.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Well, it's over here where I'm at in the Midwest. It's a nice sunny day, and there's still snow.
What's Where are you, boy? Because I'm seeing all these slat. Looks like you're in some kind of old barn. Where physically are you?
Oh, I'm physically inside. We're remodeling the house, so you know that we have a background in real estate. So we picked up this remodel, and right now we're working on the upstairs, and then we'll start working down here. But for
Got it.
now, I figured, hey, why not do it where I've realized that in leadership, it's going to be always a work in progress, and there's always going to be a concern in leadership. So I figured, why wait until I get a really nice office up overseeing someplace with all my plaques in the back? I said, you know what? If I could do it, if I'm doing it now and I felt prompted by God to like start this show, I figured why not just do it? And obviously throughout time, it's going to become better and better. And there may be times where we're in some kind of executive room or something. But as for now, I'm on the main floor, and the walls are all out. It's all gutted out. There's just the whole 9 yards when you're remodeling a home. And
Keeping it real. Keep it real.
yeah, you got to. Yep, exactly. Keeping it real. So yeah, thanks again for being open to get on this show today and just share a few words of wisdom. And so if we want to just start out and just kind of share a little bit about yourself and your background, so our listeners could get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. So 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if you asked me that question, usually my response would be something along business, what I achieved in business, companies I sold, bought, whatever. Now my answer is more about, and you mentioned that I was a dad, and I just mentioned I spent some time with my daughters. I want my legacy to be about my kids, because look, if you can't lead your family, if you can't mentor your kids, then you probably can't do that work either. So, I'm overjoyed with my two girls. They're extremely accomplished, very different ways. They're very different, individuals, and that's really what I want my legacy to be. Now, regarding business, yeah, I was an international executive. I think they call them expats. I was, an expat for about 25, 30 years, and really my job was similar to the military. Like in the military, sends soldiers all over the world to fix problems, right? In business, expats are basically the military, where they send us all over the world to fix problems, business problems. So I worked for large Fortune 100 companies, and they sent me all over the world to fix problems. Then when I left the corporate world, I started my own business. So quote unquote entrepreneur on my own dime, and so now I own two small businesses, and that keeps me pretty occupied. Right, so it's been fun. I wrote a book in the meantime, so that was a lot of fun. So that's doing well, and So I'm not ready to retire yet.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. And legacy, that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken so far is for those of us that are listening on live and on the recording is to think about what is your legacy going to be. And I know at a younger age, I wasn't thinking about legacy. It was more like, okay, I just need to pay the bills, or I want to get to this certain point in my life and like work, but not really, focus on other areas that were important as well. So thank you for sharing that. So talking about leadership and business, like you mentioned, what would be one thing that you wish you would have known when you first got started in your career?
Many things. So oddly, I wrote this book, and the way the book kind of started was for public speaking. If you guys know, the most effective way to public speak is share personal stories. So I was building a database of all my personal stories, and over time, I realized, man, I get enough personal stories to write a book. So
Yeah.
I wrote a book, right? And the way the book came about was I kind of looked at my life over the last 30, 40 years, and I said, look, life is like a sine wave, right? It's constantly going up and down and up and down, and you got peaks and valleys. So I said, look, when I was on top, I was on the top of the peaks, what was I doing? What was working? And when I was in the valleys, what wasn't working? So I boiled it down to five principles, which I call the leadership keys to leadership success. And then after I kind of jotted down and looked at those and examined myself, I said, all right, now was that just me? Or is there other examples of that? So then I looked at successful companies, I looked at successful leaders, and I said, oh, wait a minute. They have that just as much as I have it. So that gave me the inspiration to write the book about the four keys to leadership success, because it's not just me that implied and implemented those, and it worked for me. It also works for others. And and those four were not working in my life, I made some mistakes. Right? I wish somebody, when I was 20 or 25, gave me a book like this, or gave me like I call it a roadmap to success. It's much easier to learn through other people's mistakes than for your own. So I wish somebody when I was 25 told me what those four keys were.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting how you talk about from your personal stories, because that was one of my first nugget that I was sharing today is speak from what you know. So those of us that are in public speaking, or you want to public speak, or you're kind of afraid of doing it, is the one thing is just speaking from what you know. When people get all choked up or they don't know what to say, it's because they're probably sharing from some space that they don't really know about. So that one key is speak from where you know. So thank you for that, Tom. And so you ended with talking about sharing some of your mistakes. And because you have such a longevity of experience, I want to just ask is what would you say would be your biggest failure, and what have you done to grow from it?
So look, I don't know if it was the biggest one, but one of my failures was after about I guess it was about 14 years in a company. I had I thought my whole life was my work, right? So I worked for a company called Colgate-Palmolive Company. They hired me out of college. I worked for them for 14, 15 years. And every 2 or 3 years, I was always getting promoted, getting a bigger job, more paying job, better job. And after 14 or 15 years, for specific reason, which was also a learning curve for me of not to repeat that in the future, but I got canned. Right? At 14, 15 years, the company fired me. Now, again, there's a whole story why that happened, and I can share that with you if you want. But the biggest learning that I learned from that was I was crushed. It was like a divorce. You spend 14 years with an organization, and then all of a sudden it ends. You're like, now what? I'm a failure. My life is over. And after kind of the numbness went away after a couple of days, I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm still the same person. Okay, I'm unemployed right now, but I'm still the same person. I'm still a father. I'm still think pretty good at what I'm doing. So, I became what is called a free agent then in the market. And within a 3-month period of time, I had a much bigger job. I had a much better job. I had a much better paying job. And I realized that I am not what I do. And a lot of people equate who they are with what they do. And I did that for the first 14 years. And then after I lost what I do, I realized that who I am and what I do is just part of who I am. It's not who I am. So that was the biggest, learning from that. And yeah, I don't know if that helps.
Wow. Yeah. So putting in all your your days and nights and your longer 14 years invested into one organization for one day for them to say, "Hey, sorry, thank you, but you got to go." And of course, yeah, that's like a gut check, right? And I could only imagine for what I could kind of relate it to is I was in the military and I only did 4.5 years, so I did a small amount, but that would became my identity. And when I got out, I didn't I had to recreate myself again. And we went through this program where I was helping people that were in the military for 20 years transition out. And it's just this whole idea of like, one is being let go, not wanting to go, but being let go, and then having to redesign yourself and rebrand yourself and all that. So thank you for sharing that. You shared a huge nugget there. And not only that is you also shared about that you realized that your job wasn't you, that you brought value to your work, but it wasn't who you were. And I know personally I've struggled with that, and that has been one of my challenge is especially in real estate. I remember before when I first got into real estate, that's all I was, and there had to be a big breakthrough for me. And luckily, there was a transition where God really had to shake me up, and I had to put my identity in Him, like relearn some things. And so thank you for sharing that. And
Sure.
you ended up getting a door open for you that was even bigger and better for you, right? That you
Well, that's why, we always say that when a door closes, another one opens, and, maybe even a bigger and better door. So that was really the case for me. And then, the other learning, and this did not happen at that particular instance, but it's something that it evolved over time. So, one of the things I talk about in the book is an individual's character and how you build a character. And if if you just imagine 3 circles and then they intersect in one place, and that is called, I think it's called a Venn diagram. So you put a question in each one of those circles. So the first question is, who are you? The second question is, what is your passion? And the third question is, what are you good at? Right? So if you have a clear answer to every one of those and you operate where those 3 circles intersect, then I guarantee that you will be successful. So for example, right, a lot of people are good at something, but it's not their passion. They hate doing it. They may be a great accountant and, they have a great accounting job, but they hate going to work every day. It's not their passion. Maybe their passion is mountain climbing. I don't know, right? Some people aren't sure on who they are, what their character is, right? They have almost like a schizophrenic personality, because depending on what situation they're in, if they're in a work situation versus if they're in a social setting, if they're home as a husband or a father, they behave differently, right? So they take on different personalities, and to me that's just schizophrenic, because you're kind of like always trying to figure out, okay, who I should be right now, right? Mm-hmm. So if you answer those, and so my 3 answers to that is, and it took me a little while to figure this out, but who I am, I'm a servant leader, right? What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about adding value and making other people better. And what am I good at? I'm pretty good at leading and mentoring. So the beauty of with that definition of those three circles is you can use that anywhere in your life, right? So if let's say, look, if I'm a servant leader, I could be a servant leader of a company. I can be a servant leader of a department. I could be a servant leader at my church. I can be a servant leader of my family. If I'm good at mentoring people, I can mentor my kids. I can mentor my employees. One of my passions is to add value to people. I can add value to my customers. I can add value to my suppliers. Again, I can add. So you can use the same generic definition no matter where you are, no matter what setting you're in, and it works, right? So, and it took me a while to figure that out. And since we are both men of faith, what I would say is if you put into the center where the three circles intersect, if you put JC in the center there, then you're even better.
Absolutely. So quick recap is, for those of you that are taking notes, is who are you? What is your passion? And what are you good at? When you nail down those three questions, that'll help you get further on your journey of figuring out. And many of you probably already doing what you love and are great at it. So it's just a good tool for maybe your mentees or your employees or things of that sort to help people identify to move forward in where they're at. So thank you for that. So we're talking about public speaking, right? And so how has public speaking played a role in the success that you've had so far?
Well, look, if you sit down with an individual, if you and I sit down together, I can try to influence you one of my ideas, right? If I get into a group setting, I can influence maybe 3 or 4 people. If you get into a public speaking environment, then you can influence a lot more people, right? And writing my book is just another form of public speaking, because now, I'm not limited. Anybody can buy the book, anybody can read it, and anybody can be influenced with my ideas. I don't know how many people are on this video conference here, but I don't know if it's 1,000 people or 100,000 people, but I get to reach a much larger audience than if I'm just sitting down with you together one-on-one. So it helps you get your ideas out there, public speaking, and I'm assuming your ideas actually add value to people, then a lot more people benefit.
Absolutely. That's good. And have you always been this polished, or have you always been like, oh yeah, put me in front of 100 people, 1,000 people, or put me in front of a camera? Has it always been that way?
Well, to a certain extent, I was, even as a kid, I was a ham. So yeah, so that helped. But if, so for example, back in about 1988, 1987, I was in New York City, and I was working with my boss and my mentor, and we were trying to put together a succession plan for me. And one of the pieces of that succession plan was we had put together an objective for me to present to 4 of the senior executive VPs at the company that I work for, right? So high wigs. So it was really about getting on the right teams. So I was on the right team, so that I was in a position to actually present and influence these senior executive VPs. And one of the first meetings we went to, we came out and Frank said, Tom, we got to get you speech lessons, because I would talk so fast with a New York accent, people just what did Tom say? Like slow down. So, it's a process. It's a working process. I would encourage everybody, whether it's public speaking or something else, whatever that skill set is, you got to work on it, right? If you love it, you're gonna work on it. But I continue to work on my skill sets. Whether it's leadership skill set, whether it's organizational culture, whether it's public speaking. It takes time. It takes work. It's if you listen to John Maxwell, John Maxwell says, "Look, I'm great on the stage, but you know what? I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've been on the stage for close to 15, 20,000 times. So look, if after 15 or 20,000 times you're still not good at it, then find something else to do. But John Maxwell didn't become a New York Times #1 bestseller with his first book. He jokes all the time that his first book was, I don't know, like 90, 100 pages. It was the most horrific thing that he has ever written, but he started with that, right? And then he wrote another book and another book, and now he's got, I don't know, 50 books out there, and most of them are New York Times bestsellers. So if you have a passion for something, start and keep working on it and keep getting better at it, and it'll be great.
Good stuff. Yeah. So it takes work. It's a process, and be kind to yourself, because I know a lot of times we could kind of get ahead of ourselves, or we might be all excited about something. We go out and we do it, and it doesn't turn out the way that we thought it would be. It's okay. I know one of my mentors would say mistakes are overrated. So it's okay to make mistakes, get back up and do it again, try it again. Awesome. Okay, so this is the School of Leadership Development radio show. I want to ask, this is our signature question, is what is leadership to you? What does leadership mean to you?
Again, to quote, some people have been doing this for a long time. I mean, leadership is influence, right? If you can't influence other people, you're not really leading them. You're maybe, you're walking side by side, or maybe you're taking a walk by yourself. But leadership is all about influencing others. Leadership is also about serving others. That's why I call myself a servant leader, right? When I was CEO of a $300 million company, so at one time I was CEO of I think we had 2,000 employees, a little over 2,000 employees across 12 countries, right? And I thought I had the easiest job in the room, because I was a servant leader. So really my job was to create a culture that was a positive and growth culture. My job was to make sure that we all understood the vision and have a very clear vision for the company. And then my job was to equip every individual in that organization that they could reach their portion of the vision, right? So that was leadership to me. I didn't have to go out there in front and pound the desk and say, I'm a leader, I got to do this and you got to do that, and I'm the boss, and come hell or high water, it's my way or the highway. That's not leadership, right? Leadership is actually creating an environment where your organization and every person in your organization can succeed. That's what leadership is.
That's great. So many nuggets there. I'm gonna have to come back and take notes. But basically, from just the gist of what I'm hearing from you is, one, it's obviously it's influence, and we influence people in a negative way or a positive way. But you mentioned also servanthood and servant leadership. So not only just trying to be like, hey, follow me, but also seeing a way that we can get down and serve other people and build them up as well. And thank you for that. Thank you for sharing with that. You shared some more nuggets on there, like vision and things of that sort. So before we end, I just want to do just really two more questions. And one is, what are some resources that have helped you throughout the way that our listeners could go to? Maybe a book, or what are some types of resources that you would recommend that had helped you along the way?
Well, look, books help. I learn. I'm a visual learner, so I learn visually much better than reading. Although I have read many books. I mean, if you want to read a couple of books, there's a new one that just came out by Simon Sinek. He's got two books. One is Why, and then his new book, I forget the name of it. I'm just drawing a blank here. So definitely read his books. John Maxwell's got a bunch of great books. Rudy Giuliani, leadership book, great book when he was, New York City mayor. I got a lot of nuggets out of that book. Just simple stuff like Rudy used to sit down with all his direct reports every Monday. And it was non-negotiable. Everybody had to be there, and they talked about all the pressing issues. And I said, look, if it worked for Rudy, it would work for me as a general manager of a company. So that's what I did. Every Monday, my C-suite sat down. So my CFO, my CMO, my sales, we all sat down, and every Monday we talked about the urgent issues. And then in addition to that, I would have a one-on-one with each one of my direct reports for about 4 hours once a month, where we would have a small review to say, okay, well, we agreed on this a month ago, and how's it going? And how do you need my help? How can I help? What kind of resources you need? If you're doing great, I'll just get out of your way. There's no sense for me to talk about it. If you need some help, how can I help you? Worked for Rudy Giuliani, it definitely worked for me. But the best way for me is to find a mentor. And I would encourage every one of you guys who are, or ladies who are on this phone call and listening, is find yourself a mentor. Or if you can't find yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach, get yourself an executive coach, because that's the way you're going to learn, and that's the way you're going to grow.
Absolutely. And there's many ways to do that in this day and age. At the very least, you could get a library card. I know my mentors just say, hey, if you can't afford a mentor, go get yourself a library card. It's free, and all the access in the world is in the library. But now we got the internet. You could just Google it, and you have all these different sources that you can reach out to. But one thing that I got from that is including others. Is while I was listening to what you were sharing, is the important thing about including others while you're on this journey of personal growth. If you're picking up something that you're learning, is include somebody else and run it by them and have them give you feedback, because that's so good as far as learning and growing, is include others in the process. So thank you for sharing that, Tom. So what is one way that we can our listeners could get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? And if you have anything to offer, now would be the time to kind of share what's the best way to get a hold of you, and how can we get in contact with you?
So the bad news and the good news is, all my life I had to go through life with this last name, which was Kereszti, and nobody could pronounce it because, it's a very unique name. But the good news is it's a very unique name. So if you Google Kereszti, you'll find me. If you go to LinkedIn and you go Kereszti with a K, Kereszti, I'll pop up. So it's if you go to Kereszti.com, my website will pop up. So it's pretty straightforward. Just Kereszti, Kereszti. It's a very unique name. There's not a you'll find me or my sister. That's that's it. My sister's an MD, so she can help you with something else. If you're looking to deliver a baby, then she can help you do that. If you're looking for a mentor, leadership coach, if you want to just just go to Amazon. C-Suite and Beyond. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on a whole bunch of online retailers. So pick up a copy, and if you go to my website and you can just fill out a little form, I'll send you a little summary of if you don't want to invest in the whole book or you don't have time to read the whole book, I can just give you a little executive summary of that, and you'll figure out, just learn quickly what the 4 secrets to leadership is.
All right, good stuff. So Tom Kereszti, I call you Tom K because I chop it up all the time. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for spelling it out for our listeners. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna end with 3 things, and one is I want to just say thanks again, and I want you to acknowledge yourself for showing up today and wanting to learn more and grow more, and that's part of leadership, is learning and growing more. So applaud yourself in the back. Thank you for showing up. We're on your side. If you ever need any suggestions, tips, or anything, feel free to reach out. And so that's the first one. The second one is, I would love for you to, if you like this information, like it or share it, love it, and tell others about it. We're here to serve. And this is what this whole platform is designed for, is to serve you, the listener, and grow as well. And third is, if you want to learn more about our past video podcasts and that we've done already, or some that are coming up, go ahead and go to our website. It's www.schoolofleadership.com/SOLD. And that's an acronym for School of Leadership Development, SOLD. So thanks again for showing up for our show today. you are a leader. You have leadership inside of you. I applaud you for showing up. Thanks again, Tom, for being a great friend and a mentor, and much success to you. God bless you and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week.
All right. God bless.